Well, you successfully started pepper plants from seed, so how do you plant them? Now, if you know anything about pepper plants or tomato plants, you can tell that I've waited just a little too long to get these out of the pot because they are very tall, very thin. They've been in the greenhouse. They've had this diffused lighting, but not a lot of wind movement, so they just kind of grew up tall and skinny. Pepper plants are generally heat tolerant, but they also don't mind a little bit of shade. Sometimes the shade helps them produce a bigger, more plump fruit than it would be if it were planted in the full sun. A pepper can be planted several in the same hole. They will grow up and make a bush where each plant will provide a little bit of shade for the others. In my garden, right here in this garden bed, directly behind me is east and in front of me is west. This row of tomatoes is going to grow up and provide some relief from that evening sun that tends to be very hot here in Texas. There's plenty of gardening books that will tell you that you have to plant them so many inches or so many feet apart, all in a straight line. Those guidelines were created for mechanized planting. We're in a small organic garden, so we don't have to worry about anything that is designed for large-scale mechanized planting, like on tractors. We're going to plant them closer together. I have a total of 9 pepper plants, so I'm going to plant in 3 groups of 3. If you have a mulch layer on your garden, make sure that that's pulled back sufficiently so it doesn't fall down in your planting hole. You don't want to be burying that carbon layer down in the bottom of the hole. It could take nitrogen away from the plants as they're trying to grow. If your garden soil is nice and crumbly, you don't have to dig the hole very big. If your soil is hard and packed, like a thick, hard clay, you may want to dig the hole much larger than you think you need and put some potting soil in with it to help those baby roots spread out. The only additive that I'm going to be putting in the planting hole is finely ground eggshell powder. This is eggshell calcium. And this is just going to add calcium to the garden. It may not be immediately available to the plants this season, but the calcium that I put in last season should be ready, and then this will help in the following seasons. I'm going to put 3 plants in each of these holes. So this here has 2 plants. I don't feel the need to separate those. The pepper plants don't mind crowded roots. They really don't mind growing closely together. So I'm going to just put this one down in here first. You can pinch those lower leaves off. Make sure that you're pinching the leaves and not pulling them off of the stem. That stem is very sensitive, and if you damage it, you could kill your plant. Pepper plants don't mind being planted deep either. So just make sure that the leaves that you leave on the plant are above the ground level. Now we're just going to fill in the soil, making sure not to bruise those stems too much. If you feel that your garden soil is not very rich or doesn't have a lot of nutrients in it, you can get an organic fertilizer to put in the hole at planting time, and also spray the leaves with some sort of a foliar spray. I don't use too many of those products, but they are available if you feel like you have some deficiencies. At this point, I'll go ahead and pull the mulch in a circle back up around the plant, but not all the way up to the plant. When the pepper plant gets a little taller, then I'll pull that mulch up close to the base. While the plants are small, go ahead and put some sort of protection around it. This will give it structure to grow up on and also help prevent things like your neighborhood cats or your farm cats from getting in and laying on those young plants. If you do have more plants in one container that you want to plant in one hole, the easy way to separate it is just to put your fingers in there, turn it over, and then lower it down into some water. Just let the water and gravity do the work. Gently massaging a little bit. You don't even have to do a whole lot here. And all that soil will fall off and you end up with just roots. When you're holding this, you need to be very gentle. Like I said, those stems are sensitive. So we're never going to be pinching the stems. If you need to hold one plant, you can hold it by a leaf or by the root ball. We're going to gently pull these apart underwater. And there's one that's separated. We'll lay that there. And gently reaching down by the base, we're just going to pull those apart. There's another one. See a good amount of roots still on that. And these two, actually I'll just leave those together because I am going to put 3 in this hole, so I'll just leave those like this. Okay, Alex, my turn. Come on. That's not your hole. Okay, gently, like before, we're going to pinch these leaves off. Careful not to pull and rip on the stem. So these guys right here, I'm going to lay gently right here. You can see that there's plenty of stem in the hole, and the leaves will be above that soil level. And I can lay one more on this side after I pinch these leaves off. And I'm going to use the soil to kind of prop these guys up in the hole. He and his friends are the reasons I have cages around all of my plants, because they come in here and dig, and they want to use these nicely dug holes, these fresh holes, for toilets. And they also like to use them as lounging areas. So we're going to do our best to accommodate giving the cats a nice place to hang out, but not destroy our plants. Okay, none of that soil that went in that hole was packed in. I just loosely dropped it in, and right at the last moment when the plants are in, I'm giving just a little tiny bit of a pat to help put them in place. And now that the cats have lost interest, hopefully we'll pull that soil, we'll pull that mulch layer back up around the plants. Well, no such luck. You can see in the background here that I gave up pushing the cats away. I put a piece of fencing temporarily around these plants. Once those pepper plants get large enough, the cats won't be able to hurt them too much. But right now they're very young and very tender, so I want to protect them with this wire cage. We have 3 remaining pepper plants, so this one that we pulled out with the water method, we're going to lay it in here. And you guys have seen the gardening channel, Gardening with Puppies, where Paula, she has her 2 puppies that are often in the garden with her. Well, I feel like I'm gardening with kitties, and often I'm gardening with one hand and pushing cats out of the planting holes with the second hand. Now, because this one is so much smaller, I'm going to go ahead and put some soil to prop it up. Oh, I almost forgot. Oops. Alright, hopefully that small piece of wire in there will keep the cats off of the plants. And I can pull that mulch back up around. The mulch layer helps keep moisture, and over time, as those leaves break down or your mulch breaks down, it adds nutrients to your soil. Be sure to water your pepper plants when you transplant them very well to help prevent shock. Well, there we go. Even with cats, I managed to get 9 pepper plants planted. Thanks for joining me in the Daddy Kerb's garden. Thank you for joining Chevy in the garden. Chevy, thanks for joining me in the garden. Thanks for not destroying my plants this time. I don't mind planting with the cats, sharing the garden space with the cats, because they are a sweet addition to our farm. We only have 4. They're all rescues, and they help prevent some of the rodents and things. So we'll deal with the cats. Thanks again. I'll talk to you soon.
Caught you. What are you doing?
Morning.
Okay.
Am I a big boy?
Yes, you're a big boy.